At her brother's birthday dinner, my wife Sarah looked me dead in the eye, laughed and said she could disappear by morning and I wouldn't even notice. Everyone laughed, except me. That was the moment I stopped being her doormat and started becoming something else. Someone she never saw coming. You know, if I really wanted to, I could be gone by morning. She said it like a joke, like a toss-away line after a sip of wine. But the second it left her lips, I knew something had shifted. It was her brother's birthday. Her whole family was there. Parents, cousins, even the aunt who always showed up late. I was sitting right next to her, and yet I'd never felt more invisible. That one sentence didn't just sting, it unzipped the entire room. Sarah always had a sharp tongue, but tonight she was on a roll. She laughed, cut into her cake, then added, "Mark never had any ambition anyway." Another sip, another shrug. "He's a sweet guy, just safe, predictable, like a couch that's comfy but a little out of style. You don't throw it out, but you dream about replacing it." Everyone at the table froze. Her cousin gave a nervous chuckle. Her dad cleared his throat. I didn't move. I kept my eyes on the single candle flickering in the middle of the cake. I focused on that flame, like it was the last thing keeping me tethered to reality. She kept going. "You know what I mean, right?" she asked, nudging her cousin, who suddenly found the inside of her glass very interesting. "Mark's the kind of guy who'll still be watching reruns and drinking chamomile tea while the world burns around him." The laugh she let out after that one was almost too loud. I didn't laugh. I didn't speak. I just stood up slowly. The sound of the chair dragging across the wood floor felt like thunder in that suddenly silent room. I didn't yell. I didn't even look at her. I just walked upstairs. She thought I was sulking, playing the role of the quiet husband licking his wounds. She didn't realize I was already packing her suitcase. There was no anger in it, just movement. Her clothes, her toiletries, even that pair of sneakers she only wore to yoga, but insisted were essential. I folded them neatly, zipped the bag, and carried it downstairs. The birthday candles were long blown out by then. I set the suitcase by the front door, turned the handle outward, said nothing. Sarah blinked. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means," I said, finally meeting her eyes, "you don't have to wait until morning." Silence. Thick. Total. The kind you can hear breathing. Her mom let out a strained laugh, trying to soften the blow. Her brother just looked down at his plate. No one moved. No one said a word. That night she slept in the guest room. Not because I asked her to, but because she was furious I hadn't fought back. Furious I didn't shout or beg or crumble. She didn't understand that the moment she turned me into a punchline at her family dinner, something in me finally snapped, but not in the way she expected. My name is Mark. I'm 35. I work in municipal infrastructure, the kind of job no one thinks about until something breaks. Pipes, roads, snowplows, water pressure, unseen until it fails. That used to be fine with me. I liked being the guy who quietly kept things running. I thought that's what love was too. Being steady, paying bills on time, showing up, holding her through bad dreams, fixing the garbage disposal without being asked. I thought that was enough. But maybe for Sarah, love had to come with chaos, with drama, with noise, something to prove she was still wanted. The next morning was quiet. She slammed the front door at 9:17 a.m., her suitcase trailing behind her like a pet she never planned to feed. I didn't follow her, didn't ask where she was going. I already knew. "Spokane," she muttered while brushing her hair that morning, still pretending we were having a regular day. "I'll stay with Lindsay. At least there, I don't have to deal with your dramatics." Lindsay, her cousin with 4 kids under 6, a husband who lived more in his van than in their house, and a home that always smelled like sour milk and desperation. Sarah used to pity her. Now she was moving in. "You packed my things," she spat, spinning around in the kitchen. "That's not drama?" "No," I said. "It's clarity." She rolled her eyes. "You think this makes you strong? You think this silent treatment is noble? It's pathetic, Mark. You're like a dog waiting for someone to throw a bone." That one hit harder than I expected, but I just nodded. Let her have her final jab. She wasn't used to silence. She was used to me folding. apologizing first, chasing her when she pulled away. She wasn't ready for this version of me, the one who didn't flinch. "Have a nice life," she muttered, grabbing the handle of her suitcase. The wind hit as she opened the door. She didn't brush her hair out of her face, she just walked. And I let her. I sat down at the kitchen table with a mug of black coffee. No almond milk, no cinnamon, no jazz playlist humming in the background. Just silence. A different kind than before. Not cold, not bitter, just clear. 3 years of marriage, hundreds of tiny arguments. Now just one empty chair and the distant sound of a suitcase dragging across the sidewalk. I opened Instagram. She'd already posted from the car. "New chapter," the caption read, alongside a boomerang of her Starbucks cup and a peace sign. No mention of me, no mention of the man she walked out on, the man who didn't slam doors or scream in parking lots, the man who just let her go. She thought I was weak because I didn't fight. She had no idea what I was becoming. The first day she was gone, I noticed the quiet. Not the kind you hear after a fight or during a cold spell in marriage, but a silence that stretched. Not heavy, not cruel, just honest. Her voice wasn't in the hallway. No blow dryer humming from the bathroom. No jazz playing on a loop during breakfast. Just the sound of my own footsteps and the hum of the fridge. I made coffee. Black, no almond milk, no cinnamon, no compromises. I didn't feel heartbroken. Not really. It felt more like a bruise. Tender, but manageable. Like pressing it now and then, just to see if it still hurt. That night I lay in bed alone and didn't cry. I didn't replay her words or imagine ways I could have saved it. I just stared at the ceiling and asked myself one question. Now what? The next morning I put on sneakers I hadn't touched in over a year and jogged 2 blocks. My lungs burned, my knees ached. But I came back the next day, and the next. I stopped microwaving frozen dinners. I started cooking actual meals, not because I had someone to impress, but because I finally felt like I deserved better. I cleaned the kitchen, not for her return, but because it felt good to take ownership of my own space again. At work, Ray from the department office squinted at me over lunch. "You okay, man? You look lighter." I just shrugged. Maybe I stopped carrying something. I didn't check Sarah's Instagram every day, but when I did, it was never about her. It was about confirmation. Her first few posts were typical: cocktails, road trip selfies, overfiltered peace signs. "Freedom tastes better with espresso," she wrote under a photo of a drive-through cup. But after a while, the tone changed. A post about spilled juice on her pants. One about missing hot water. Then a selfie, no filter, eyes tired, with a caption, "Motherhood is beautiful, even if it's not yours." I didn't laugh. Not really. But I did feel something settle. Like a loose puzzle piece clicking into place. She left because she thought something better was out there. She thought stability meant weakness, that predictability was a flaw. And now she was learning that chaos doesn't always mean freedom. Meanwhile, I was rebuilding, quietly, steadily. Jogging turned into real runs. I signed up for a local 5K. I repaired the back fence myself. I took weekend drives to places I'd never bothered to explore before. There was a clarity in being alone that I hadn't felt in years. One night, while grocery shopping, I passed a couple arguing by the apples. The man was trying to pick a bag of Gala. The woman wanted Honeycrisp. They weren't yelling, just annoyed, bored, tired. I watched them for a second longer than I should have and realized that could have been us in 10 more years, or 20, or worse, already had been. But here's the part no one tells you. When the chaos leaves, there's a strange peace that follows. It doesn't sing or shout. It just sits beside you quietly until one day, you notice you're not waiting anymore. You're living again. About a month after she left, Dana, a mutual friend, invited me to a potluck. Said it'd be chill. Just a few friends from college, no drama. I didn't plan to go, until I realized I didn't have a reason not to. I wasn't hiding. I wasn't licking wounds. I was just free. So I showed up with a bowl of roasted potatoes and a plain white t-shirt. Walked in, gave Dana a quick hug, and then I saw her. Sarah, across the room holding a plate of untouched salad and talking to someone who clearly wasn't listening. She looked up the second I stepped through the door, and she froze. I didn't. I greeted a few people, got a drink, and acted like I hadn't just made eye contact with the woman who detonated my life with a joke at a birthday party. She didn't approach me, but her eyes followed me. Every time I laughed, every time I moved, I felt her stare. Not aggressive, just confused, like she didn't recognize me anymore. Good, I didn't avoid her. I just didn't invite anything either. I wasn't playing a game. I was being honest. I was okay. 2 hours later, I slipped out to the porch to breathe. The cool air hit sharp but clean. I leaned against the rail. I didn't hear the door open, but I felt her behind me. Hey, she said, voice low. I turned. There she was. Same jacket, same boots. But something was off. She wasn't standing tall. Her arms weren't crossed. She looked uncertain. Didn't expect to see you, she said. Likewise. Pause. You look good, she added. I feel good, I said. Another pause. We stood side by side, not touching, not moving. I almost didn't come, she admitted, eyes focused on the yard. Thought it'd be weird. It is. She let out a short laugh, nervous. We both stared ahead. She was waiting for something. A signal, an opening. But I wasn't giving it. Not out of spite, but because this wasn't her story anymore. Not the way it used to be. She had left, expecting me to shatter. But I didn't. Eventually, I turned toward the house. Mark, wait. I stopped, hand on the doorknob. Can I ask you something? She said. I nodded. Why didn't you fight for me? The question landed hard, but not because it hurt, because it showed how little she'd understood. You were never a prize to be won, I said. And with that, everything changed. You were never a prize to be won. The words stopped her, not because they were cruel, but because they stripped away the illusion she'd built around herself. She looked at me, but not the way she used to. No superiority, no smirk, no defense. Just confusion, maybe guilt. We were supposed to be a team, I continued, voice steady. This wasn't a competition. I didn't marry you to win something. I married you because I thought we were building a life together. She opened her mouth, closed it again. The words she came with, whatever script she'd prepared, didn't match the man standing in front of her now. I didn't leave because I didn't care, I added. I stayed calm because yelling at you in front of your family wouldn't have changed anything. I packed your suitcase because you said you could leave by morning, and I believed you. Her eyes fell. She wrapped her arms around herself like she was trying to hold something in. I didn't mean it, she said. But you said it. And then you left, I replied. That wasn't an accident. You didn't storm out. You packed up and walked away. She looked down at her feet. I was trying to get a reaction. I thought, if I pushed you hard enough, you'd snap. You'd fight for me. You'd prove I still mattered. And what would that have proved? I asked. That love is only real when it's loud? That I needed to chase you to validate your worth? She didn't answer. I chose peace, I said. Not because I didn't care, but because I finally realized I didn't have to earn love through conflict. She nodded slowly, her breath shallow. I didn't expect you to change, she admitted. I thought you'd be waiting, miserable, angry, still hoping I'd come back. I didn't respond, because for a while she was right. I had hoped, but hope turned into something else. Independence, confidence, clarity. I'm sorry, she whispered, for everything, for what I said at dinner, for walking away, for making you feel like you were never enough. I studied her face for a beat. I wasn't angry, I wasn't bitter, but I wasn't sure I trusted her either. Can we talk? She asked. Not to fix everything, just to talk. I didn't say yes. I just opened the door and gestured toward the driveway. I'll walk you to your car. She blinked, caught off guard. Not offended, but surprised. She followed me without a word. The night was cool, quiet. Her footsteps behind mine were soft, hesitant. She sat in the driver's seat, hands on the wheel like she didn't know whether to start the car or hold it together. I leaned against the doorframe, watched her stare straight ahead. I'm not proud of how I left, she said, eyes on the windshield. But the thing that scares me the most is that you didn't chase me. You wanted a chase, I said. I wanted a partner. She turned to look at me. Really? I wasn't going to beg, I continued. I wasn't going to play your games. If you needed to leave to figure out your worth, I wasn't going to stand in the way. But don't act surprised that I figured out mine too. Tears welled up again, but she didn't look away this time. I stayed with Lindsay because I thought I'd feel free, she said. But every night I watched you move on without saying a word. You didn't post sad quotes. You didn't spiral. You didn't even check on me. You just got better. That hurt, I asked. She nodded. More than I thought it would, because it made me realize you were stronger than I ever gave you credit for. You didn't need me. I did need you, I corrected. I just didn't demand you prove it back. I gave love freely. You mistook it for weakness. We stood in silence for a while, neither of us trying to fill it. She broke it first. Mark, she said quietly, I'm not here to win you back. I'm not here to manipulate. I'm here because I finally understand what I ruined. That caught me off guard. The way she said it, flat, plain, no defense, just truth. What do you want now? I asked. I want to come home, she said. Not just to the house. I want to come back to you, to us. I didn't answer right away, because the truth is, I didn't know. A month ago, those words would have undone me. But now, I was different. I wasn't waiting anymore. I was living. I don't know if I can give you that, I said. Not yet, maybe not ever. She didn't cry this time. She nodded. I understand. I looked at her. Really looked. Then I stepped back. If you're serious, I said, start small. No speeches, no promises, just breakfast. She blinked. Breakfast? Tomorrow, 8 a.m. If you're there, we'll talk. If not, no more chasing. No more waiting. She nodded slowly, started the engine, drove off. I walked back to the porch and sat on the steps, alone again, but not uncertain. Whatever came next, it would be on my terms. I woke before the alarm, not from nerves, from clarity. It had been a long time since I felt ready for something, not in the way people force themselves to be, but in the real sense. Like whatever happened today, I could face it without needing to control the outcome. At 7:56 a.m., coffee was already brewed, eggs warming on the stove. I didn't pace. I didn't rehearse anything in my head, just moved through the morning like I'd done it 100 times because I had. At 7:59, I heard a car door shut outside. She was early. No dramatic knock. No breathless entrance. Just the side door opening the way it always had before everything went sideways. She stepped inside, hair tied back. No bags, no makeup. Nothing in her hands. Just herself. Smells like rosemary, she said. Old habit, I replied. She hovered near the counter, unsure where she fit. I motioned to the stool. She sat. I plated the food. Eggs, toast, greens. Poured her coffee without asking, because I already knew how she took it, and because that still meant something. We ate mostly in silence. Forks clicked. Coffee sipped. The quiet didn't feel awkward. It felt earned. Halfway through her toast, she spoke. Thank you. I looked up. For what? For not throwing it all back at me. For not yelling. For not trying to humiliate me the way I did you. That wouldn't have helped, I said. She nodded. Then her voice broke slightly. I didn't realize how far I drifted. I thought I was being clever, making jokes. But I was just scared. Scared you didn't see me anymore. Scared you didn't need me. I didn't need you, I said carefully. I just never made you prove anything for it. She sat with that. No reaction, no pushback. I don't deserve to be here, she said. Maybe not, I replied. But you showed up. I don't expect trust, she said. Not today, maybe not ever. But if there's anything left, anything real, I want to do it the right way. No drama, no guilt, just effort, gratitude. It wasn't a pitch. It wasn't a script. It was the most grounded I'd seen her in years. I don't need perfect, I said. Just honest. She nodded, eyes damp but not desperate. Then without being asked, she stood, walked to the sink, and began cleaning the dishes. No speech, no symbolism, just doing something that needed to be done. And something about that, about her quietly choosing to help, hit deeper than any apology could have. She stayed for an hour. We talked. Not about the big things. Not yet. Just ordinary things. Her cousin's kids, her job search. I told her about the fence I'd fixed and the 5K I'd signed up for. It was small talk, but it wasn't empty. It was a start. When she stood to leave, she paused at the door. I don't know where this leads, she said, but I want to earn the right to find out. I nodded. No promises, no declarations, just acknowledgement. After she left, I didn't overthink it. I didn't rehash every word. I went for a run, cooked dinner, read a chapter of a book, slept soundly. The next morning she showed up again, this time with bagels. We didn't define what we were doing. We didn't put a label on it. But she came back, not out of guilt or loneliness, out of choice. One morning turned into 3, then a week. There were no sweeping gestures, no grand redemptions, just presence. And sometimes that's enough. Weeks passed, not quickly, not dramatically, just one morning at a time. Sarah kept showing up, sometimes with bagels, sometimes with nothing. Sometimes she stayed an hour, sometimes she left after coffee. There were no labels, no declarations, just a quiet rhythm forming again. She didn't beg to move back in. She didn't ask to pick up where we left off. And I didn't offer her anything she hadn't earned. We were building something new, or trying to, but not on top of the ruins, from a different place entirely. We didn't pretend the past hadn't happened. We didn't brush aside the damage or rewrite the story. We acknowledged it, sometimes with words, sometimes with silence. There were setbacks. One morning she brought up that dinner, the one where everything fell apart. She started to explain what she had meant to say, but I stopped her. It's not about what you meant, I said. It's about what you chose to say, and when you chose to say it. She nodded, then said nothing else for the rest of breakfast. But she came back the next day. We kept going, and slowly something new began to emerge. She started asking about my routines, my runs, my work, not out of obligation, but because she was paying attention again. I listened when she talked about her cousin's chaos and how she was helping out around the house. It wasn't glamorous, but it seemed to be grounding her. Eventually, she got her own place. Small, quiet, close enough to meet for breakfast. Far enough that she had her own space. I need to stand on my own, she told me. I didn't know that until I had nothing to lean on. I respected that. I didn't offer to help with the rent. I didn't ask for keys. She didn't ask for mine. Some days we talked about real things. Some days we just shared coffee and left it at that. And both felt valuable. She asked once if I hated her. I told her no. I didn't hate you. I hated how I let myself disappear to keep you happy. She didn't argue. She just said, I hated that too. We didn't rebuild the marriage as it was. We didn't pretend we could rewind. We treated it like a new project with new rules. Honesty, space, no keeping score. I told her clearly, if we do this again, I need to know you want this life, not some version of it you think you can mold into something else. She nodded. I do. Not because I've run out of options, because I stopped looking for something that didn't exist. It wasn't romantic. It was real. And that was more powerful than any dramatic reunion could have been. One morning, 3 months after that dinner, she didn't knock. She walked in, sat down and said, I signed the lease for another year. I looked up. You staying in town? She nodded. I'm not running anymore. We didn't celebrate. We didn't kiss. We just sat there, ate in peace, and cleaned up together afterward. That night, I stood at the mirror brushing my teeth, and it hit me. I wasn't waiting anymore. Not waiting to be validated. Not waiting to be seen. I had already chosen myself. And Sarah? She wasn't trying to undo what she'd done. She was showing up to do something harder, live with it, learn from it, and try to be better anyway. We weren't back where we started. We were somewhere new, not safe, not certain, but honest. And for the first time in years, that felt like enough.